Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your SportsBreak, broadcasted through the facilities of Trent Radio on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed online at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is, it's weather. I was just talking to my operator here, and it's funny how we get obsessed with weather. But literally here in Peterborough right now, it is negative 11, feels like negative 20, and we're just waiting for the snow. We're supposed to get like 30 centimeters, I believe, by like this afternoon. Can't wait. Trent University is still open. Thank you very much. Every other school, it feels like in Ontario, is canceled. Whatever. Got to get that education. My parents listen to this, so got to get that education, you know what I'm saying? Edumacation. But back home in Mitchell, Ontario, if you know where that is, you know where that is. If you don't, it's near London, Ontario. If you don't know where that is, I can't help you out here anymore. They get freezing rain, and it's freezing rain warning right now and wind, and it's just amazing how, sure, it's 3 hours away, but it's so different. Or even 20 minutes away from here is so different. And people wonder why we obsess over the weather. It's because it literally controls our life. It controls what we can do, where we're going to do it, and how we're going to get there. So, in Peterborough, I guess, get ready for the snowstorm that's coming, the winter storm, they're calling it. It'll be great, snow day tomorrow maybe. But who knows? Like I said, right now it's negative 11, feeling like negative 20. Kind of cloudy out. Expecting snow, but it is still a beautiful day to talk about sports, ladies and gentlemen. What day isn't a beautiful day to talk about sports? And last week, if you listened to the show, thank you very much, first of all. And there wasn't any big news. I don't think we really talked. The Super Bowl we talked about, of course, but there wasn't anything huge until we got off the air. And you remember during last semester? Yeah, I think it was in November. I forget when. But we were lucky enough to announce the Joe Quenneville firing from the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, not lucky for him, of course, because he's a good coach and he got fired. But excuse me, sorry. For a small radio host, that's pretty cool. You break big news like that. Well, not 3 hours after the show, Auston Matthews signed an extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Come on, Kyle Dubas, can you throw me a bone? I don't know if it would never get to Kyle Dubas. If you want to share it to Kyle Dubas, I would really appreciate it. And tell him that if he has any news, if he could tweet me or DM me, slide into my DMs, I would let Kyle Dubas slide into my DMs, not going to lie. Let him slide in there and be like, yo, what's up? James, Jim, whatever he wants to call me. This is the news I got. It's going to happen. When Marner gets extended or they trade for someone huge. Love to know. I'll break it first. They won't expect it. Puts me on the map. Gets me a job. And it gets kind of it just helps Kyle out. Because it just does. He helps a local kid from 2 hours away. But, helps a local kid. Anyways, the important kid is the Auston Matthews extension, which was a 5-year extension with an $11.6 million average annual value. 93% of that money in the contract will be paid out in signing bonuses, which is kind of funny. Actually, Bob McKenzie did an amazing breakdown of it. In year one, he gets $15.2 million in signing bonus, $700,000 salary. Year two is the same. Year three is $9.7 million in signing bonus, $750 salary. Year 4 and 5 are $7.2 million signing bonus, $750 salary. And so in total, it's $54.5 million in signing bonus and $3.65 million in salary. So July 1st this year, Auston Matthews is going to get a direct deposit of $15.2 million. The only reason I hesitate there is I don't know if it's direct deposit or he gets a really big check like he won the lottery. I mean, he kind of did win the lottery. That's a lot of money. But, yeah, he gets a full no movement clause in the final year of his deal, which is the first year that it can officially kick in. His average annual value that starts next year makes him the second highest paid player in the league, trailing only Connor McDavid, $12.5 million. And Matthews' annual cap hit is $634 million, and John Tavares, who, of course, this past July 1st, signed a 7-year, $77 million contract with the Leafs. So now the Leafs have $16 million in cap space for next season, roughly, to sign Mitch Marner, Kasperi Kapanen, and Andreas Johnsson, and then fill the hole that'll be left by Ron Hainsey and Jake Gardiner if they leave. Now, maybe Jake Gardiner takes a pay cut. Maybe Mitch Marner takes a pay. A lot of stuff has to happen here. But the Leafs are all right. They're gonna be all right. Is it the term that most Leafs fans or anyone that follows the Leafs would have wanted? No. 5 years is a little tough. He's gonna be a UFA pretty early. We saw what happened with Tavares, and that's why people are freaking out about it. But you still get him on a fairly decent AAV that helps you with Marner, helps you with Johansson, Kapanen, all of these guys. Because if he would have signed for 8 years, it would have probably been $12, $13 million. And then you can't afford Marner. You can afford Marner, but that's it. You're probably going to end up losing Kapanen, and you're probably going to end up losing Johansson. And I know I am sick of it, and I know a lot of people are getting sick of the contract talk. It's become a lot recently with the Leafs, especially with like offer sheets. We're not going to bring up offer sheets. It just grinds my gears how there's so many teams in the league with RFAs, restricted free agents, that are going to need to be re-signed, but somehow the Leafs are the only team that are going to get offer sheeted. It just seems that's how the media is portraying it. Of course, the media picks on Toronto because that's their biggest audience, and they're going to get the biggest clicks, or the most clicks, and they're going to get the most attention from Leafs fans because there's more Leafs fans and they're crazy. It's as simple as that. But for Matthews, I would say this is a good deal. He's getting paid a lot of money, $54 million just in signing bonus. He gets taxed different because he's an American citizen living in Canada. I don't know the specifics, but it's different. And he's getting paid American in Canada, so he makes more money than he would. It's like, I don't want to say like it's 1.3 or 3% more. It's something. It's whatever the dollar difference is, which it works out pretty well for him. I think it was an extra like close to $3 million that he gets just for the conversion is the word we're looking for. That's why I'm doing a sports radio show. I'll be honest. We don't need big words. We need goal, good play, like stuff like that. Real good pro, all those words. But for the Leafs, it doesn't leave them in a terrible spot. It doesn't leave them in a great spot either. I guess we'll just have to see. That's a problem for 5 years down the road for re-signing Auston Matthews. People are going to freak out about it. That's fine. Right now, you're overreacting. Excuse me, that was terrible. Yeah, I don't know how else to say other than, like, it's not a terrible deal. I'm not happy with it. I don't hate it. It works out for the Leafs. It's going to have to. It's done. It'll be interesting to see what they get Marner under, and then the rest of the chips will fall. And we'll see how it goes. Now we should just focus on playoff hockey that they're going to end up playing. They're still second in the division. Of course, they beat Montreal on Saturday night. A nice goal by John Tavares. And then they lost to the Rangers on Sunday. I believe they play the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night. I believe it's in Colorado. Should be a good game for the Leafs. Colorado's kind of lost. They've lost 5 of their last 5, I believe. And the Leafs have won 4 of their last 5. It'll be a good series, I think. Good game, sorry. Of course, John Tavares, if you remember, during his whole courting process, he did interviews with teams, which is a very interesting way of doing it. I'm sure a lot of free agents now are going to start doing it. Artemi Panarin's probably going to do it this offseason when he's a free agent. But Tavares, funny enough, Montreal was like, "Hey, John, we would love to sit you down, tell you why you would be great here in Montreal, why we would love you here in Montreal." And Tavares said no. He's like, "You know what, Montreal, that's really cool. Good team. I'm all right. You know what? I can live without being in Montreal." And he just didn't have an interview with them. And he was recently asked after the Montreal game, after the Rangers game, how he was feeling about his decision to sign with the Leafs and how it's going so far. And he said, "I have absolutely no regrets. I'm in a great spot. It's been a tremendous opportunity, and we're just beginning. When I made the decision, it felt right to me, and it was the best thing for me in my career." Of course, he was 27 when he hit UFA. He's 28 now, or he is 28. He's just 5 goals shy of tying his career high of 38, with still 26 games to play. The season's gone by quick, it feels like. He has 60 points in 56 contests. He's just having a good season. The next time the Islanders play the Leafs will be on February 28th. Of course, the Islanders beat the Leafs 4-0 on December 29th. It was a huge deal. Everyone was like, oh, Tavares made the wrong decision. It's like, well, you lose some games. You win and you lose some. It's not a huge deal. And if you're the Anaheim Ducks, you lose a lot of games. I'm rushing this. We have a lot to talk about. Baseball is back, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Every team in the MLB, almost every team, I should say, has reported. Pitchers and catchers have reported. We're on the route to baseball, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hyped. We got a lot to talk about with baseball. Not a lot, but enough. And there's a lot of hockey stuff too. It's just a great time for sport. Every time is a great time for sports. Every time is a great time for any kind of sport, unless you live in Anaheim, and then your hockey team's trash. And they've lost 19 of their last 21 games, including a 7th consecutive defeat on Saturday, which led to the firing of Randy Carlyle, his second time being fired from the Anaheim Ducks. Famously, earlier this month, Bob Murray said, "Yeah, we're not going to fire Randy Carlyle. I don't believe in that. Maybe after the season." And now Bob Murray's going to coach the NHL team. He's never coached the NHL level. He's going to try and coach. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. They're not playing for a playoff spot, so that doesn't matter. It'll more just be like, is he going to lose the team, and what are they going to look like? They're going to look like garbage either way. They look like garbage now with a real head coach. Well, if you call Randy Carlyle a real head coach. But it'll be interesting to see how the Ducks do. His first stint with Carlisle's first stint with the Ducks, of course, was from 2005 to 2012. Sorry, I just got an email. And then, of course, they won the Stanley Cup in 2007, and then he spent 4 years in Toronto. Was back in Anaheim in 16-17, made the playoffs in his first 2 seasons, and then the wheels came off. And now they're just not good. They sit in 28th in the league with 51 points in 56 games, but they have the league's worst goal differential by a negative 55, which is just terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's not a great situation in Anaheim. Of course, you can't blame it all on Randy Carlyle. It's just like Edmonton. You can blame a lot of it on Randy Carlyle this time, though. He's just not an NHL head coach anymore. The game's changed from how he used to coach. But you got to blame a lot of it on Bob Murray, and that'll pain a lot of people to think about because Bob Murray's been around Anaheim in a long time. He built them to be a Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup contender that they always were. But he just he rested on his laurels too much, and by that I mean he signed a lot of guys to really long deals that he maybe shouldn't have. The Corey Perry deal, the Ryan Getzlaf deal, of course the Ryan Kessler deal. These are players that are like the franchise players for the Ducks. So you can't just let them go. But they're huge deals. After this one, Corey Perry still has 2 more years. So does Getzlaf. Kessler has 3 more after this one. And they're all, Kessler's $6.8 million. Getzlaf's 8.2 and Corey Perry's 8.6. That's a lot of money tied up in guys that are 33 and 34. Of course, he signed Anaheim Reek this year to a 5-year, $5.8 million extension. And right now they have $55 million in $55 million in cap space would be amazing. He has $55,000 in cap space. What are you gonna do with that? You can't do anything with that. You got to re-sign Jakob Silfverberg, for example. Their defense, they've got 4 defensemen on a UFA G6. I'm not sure what that means. Group 6. Yeah, sure. But yeah, it's just not a very well done team. And they just got they care too much about their veterans, which you have to do. That was the old NHL mentality, is if you drafted these guys, you stick with them. If they're really good players, you stick with them until they're bad, and then until they retire. Whereas today's NHL, there's no loyalty. It's what can you do for me now? And if you can't win anymore, get off my team. That's why you don't see these older players getting these huge contracts. Just like in the MLB, you just don't see it anymore. With technology the way it is, we can realize that older players, I shouldn't say that. People look at the stats more, is a better way of saying it. That people really decline as they get older. You can't sign them in their prime for a longer deal because they'll be kind of crap when their contract expires and they're out of their prime. Now, it's different for Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, completely different sport, of course, but they're young still. When their contract's up, they should still be kind of on their prime still. They won't be crap. They'll be if you sign them to an 8-year deal right now, they're 34. 34-year-olds are still pretty good baseball players. They have been, at least. But that's the MLB. We'll get to that It's just the Ducks. It's just too much money tied up in players that maybe don't deserve it. And, of course, they have an amazing goaltender in John Gibson, who is signed forever. Next year, he actually has a new extension kicking in, $6.4 million for at least 6 years. I don't know if it goes past that. He's amazing, other than he gets pulled a lot because he gets scored on a lot. He gets torched. The Ducks are getting torched right now, and it's not a great time. And for a team that used to be so good, now they've squandered it away. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a couple seasons of bad. And maybe that's what it's going to take for them to get better. I don't know. It's just not a great time in Anaheim right now. It doesn't look pretty on them at all. It doesn't look great on them. And I would love to see them do better because you never want to see a team like this too terrible. I said the same. There was another team I was thinking of that you want to see. Like Philadelphia. You always want to, like, they finally got a goaltender in Carter Hart. Hopefully they can perform now. You just want to see, like, parity in the league is amazing. Because if you only have if it's like the NBA and there's like 4 teams that can win the championship, like realistically win the championship, how fun is that to watch? For me, it's not. I despise that. Because what's the point of watching then? If it's just, there's 4 teams that are going to win. Actually, in the NBA, it's 1 team that's going to win it, and it's the Golden State Warriors. What's the point of watching? I mean, you still got to play the games. They could still lose. But can they? Like, it's amazing. So in the NHL, it's amazing how much parity there is. Where there's realistically right now, I just got to think, there was at least 8-10 teams that could win the Stanley Cup. And it's not crazy to think they could win the Stanley Cup. Now, as you get towards the top 10, they're not as great. But for your top, like, 5, there's Tampa, there's Toronto. Well, I don't know. Okay, Tampa, Winnipeg, Nashville. I would maybe throw Toronto in there. And then I'm just looking at standings right now. There's Nashville, I think I said. But there's a lot of good teams in the NHL right now. Tampa Bay, the Islanders are up there. I don't think the Islanders can win the Stanley Cup. San Jose, Calgary. Calgary's the other one. And Vegas. Who says Vegas doesn't make it back to the Stanley Cup Finals? It's just the NHL is amazing right now. I don't think we've ever seen this elite of an NHL ever. I know Wayne Gretzky played at one time, and he played with a lot of good players, but this is just amazing. And you could say that for all leagues, but just right now, the NHL is that good. Now, speaking of Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers, who were good, Ken Hitchcock on Saturday called out his players following a 5-2 loss on San Jose Sharks. He said, at this time of year, the coaches can't want it more than the players, which is that's a tough thing to say. That's a really hero move for a guy that's going to be gone at the end of the season. He sounds like a guy that's going to retire, and it's just like, why are you saying that? You're not making the team look any better. The team's not good already. Don't kick a dog while it's down. And I'm sure they're not playing to their full potential on the ice. I don't doubt that for a single second. But don't say that to the media. That doesn't help your team get any better. Connor McDavid already tries as hard as he can, and I bet you he's pretty pissed off too that the team's playing like this. But that's something maybe you say to the coaches. Maybe you say to the players, not to the media. I just think a lot of stuff gets said to the media now that, like, maybe doesn't have to be said. You could just say it to the players, and it would have the same effect. Once you bring the media in, it's a story, and then they have to answer that story to the media and to themselves about why you're talking about that. I just think it's too much telling the media all that. This weekend, Sidney Crosby passed Mario Lemieux. I don't know why I struggled with that name. I'll say that. Sidney Crosby passed Mario Lemieux for the most games played in Pittsburgh Penguins history. Of course, that's the only statistical category that Crosby is ahead of Lemieux in the regular season franchise records. Lemieux, of course, is still the record holder in goals, assists, points, power play, and shorthanded goals. Lemieux in his career got 1,033 points in his 915 games. Of course, remember he had back surgeries, Hodgkin's disease, and a 3-year retirement. But for Crosby, it's huge, playing 917 last night against the Philadelphia Flyers. Huge game for him. He's going to get up there in points. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he passed Lemieux someday for the most points by a Pittsburgh Penguin. Will he ever touch Gretzky? Probably not. Crosby's decline, not decline. He's not a 100-point guy anymore. He's an 87, 82, like a point-per-game player still. Over a point per game a bit, maybe 90 points. He's one of the guys. You don't even see with Ovechkin anymore. I would say it's just Crosby And I haven't noticed it with other players. Like, they hold themselves up for the playoffs. They just kind of coast. LeBron does it, but LeBron also sits out of games. You don't see Crosby sit out of games unless he's hurt. Now, is it a phantom injury? Who knows? Whatever. But yeah, Crosby's now more just like a get to the playoffs guy, where the regular season doesn't really matter anymore. It's just you want to win a Stanley Cup. He's got 3, why not 4? But yeah, like, he just wants a Stanley Cup. And if you're a guy like Joe Thornton, you also want a Stanley Cup. But last night, something really cool happened for Jumbo Joe. He passed Gordie Howe for sole possession of the 9th place on the all-time assist list. He now has 1,050 assists. So he's only 913 away from Wayne Gretzky. Only. That's a lot of assists. I don't think he's going to pass that. Who knows? But great for Jumbo Joe, one of the greatest passers in the league right now, or all time. He's just great. And that's a guy you kind of hope, or I hope at least he gets a Stanley Cup someday. Maybe this season. San Jose is pretty good. You just want to see everyone retire with a Stanley Cup. All these great players, kind of so they can get into the Hall of Fame. Because if you don't have a Stanley Cup, it's hard to get into the Hall of Fame. And it's going to take some years. And I don't know if Jumbo Joe deserves that. He's had success on the international stage. He's had great points in the NHL. He's a performer. He's a gamer. Just a great player, all in all. And congrats to Jumbo Joe on the assist, passing Gordie Howe. He tied Timo Solani for points all time in the NHL with 48. Not 48 points. It's 48th in the league. I don't know his point total. I believe it's 1,400 and something. Great all around for Jumbo Joe. One of the best in the game. Like I said, maybe he'll go down in the Hall of Fame. We'll have to see. That's a couple years after he retires. But we're gonna go to a quick break here. We're gonna go to break early. We're gonna play. It's called "The Green Fields of the Mind" by former MLB Commissioner Bart Giamatti to get us in the mood for baseball season. It's a little longer, it's about 10 minutes, but it's one of my favorite things. I love playing it during the baseball season. Sometimes I just play it till I hear it. So we're gonna go to it here. If I find it'll take us to about 9:34, 9:35. It should be good. We'll run that, and then we will get into the upcoming MLB season. What the heck is going on with Bryce Harper, Manny Machado? We'll get into the Blue Jays, and we'll just kick you up for the MLB season. I know it's a while away. We still got spring training to get through. 6 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. But baseball is back in March. March 28th, I believe. Opening day. It's coming soon. So we'll kick her off here to Bart Giamatti with The Green Fields of the Mind.
This little piece was originally written one afternoon as the class notes for the class of 1960 in Yale College. I was the class secretary. I had absolutely nothing to say about my classmates. I wrote what you're about to hear. It was properly and immediately rejected by the Yale Alumni Magazine on the grounds that it was completely irrelevant to the purpose of the class notes. I accepted the judgment cheerfully, and then when unaccountably 2 months later I became president, the Yale Alumni Magazine reprinted it. Remarkable. But not as class notes. It breaks your heart. It is designed to break your heart. The game begins in the spring when everything else begins again, and it blossoms in the summer, filling the afternoons and evenings, and then as soon as the chill rains come, it stops and leaves you to face the fall alone. You count on it, rely on it to buffer the passage of time, to keep the memory of sunshine and high skies alive, and then, just when the days are all twilight, when you need it most, it stops. Today, October 2nd, a Sunday of rain and broken branches and leaf-clogged drains and slick streets, it stopped, and summer was gone. Somehow the summer seemed to slip by faster this time. Maybe it wasn't this summer, but all the summers that in this, my 40th summer, slipped by so fast. There comes a time when every summer will have something of autumn in it. Whatever the reason, it seemed to me that I was investing more and more in baseball, making the game do more of the work that keeps time fat and slow and lazy. I was counting on the game's deep patterns, 3 strikes, 3 outs, 3 times, 3 innings, and its deepest impulse to go out and back, to leave and to return home, to set the order of the day and to organize the daylight. I wrote a few things this past summer, the summer that did not last. Nothing grand, but some things. And yet that work was just camouflage. The real activity was done with the radio, not the all-seeing, all-falsifying television, and was the playing of the game in the only place it will last, the enclosed green field of the mind. There in that warm, bright place, what the old poet called mutability does not so quickly come. But out here, on Sunday, October 2nd, when it rains all day, Dame Mutability never loses. She was in the crowd at Fenway yesterday, a gray day full of bluster and contradiction. When the Red Sox came up in the last of the ninth, trailing Baltimore 8-5, well, the Yankees, rain delayed against Detroit, needing only to win one or have Boston lose one to win it all, sat in New York washing down cold cuts with beer and watching the Boston game. Boston had won 2, the Yankees had lost 2, and suddenly it seemed as if the whole season might go to the last day or beyond, except here was Boston losing 8-5, while New York sat in its family room and put up its feet. Lynn, both ankles hurting now as they had in July, hits a single down the right field line. The crowd stirs. It's on its feet. Hobson, third baseman, former Bear Bryant quarterback, strong, quiet, over 100 RBIs, goes for 3 breaking balls and is out. The goddess smiles and encourages her agent, a canny journeyman named Nelson Briles. Now comes the pinch hitter, Bernie Carbo, one-time Rookie of the Year, erratic, quick, a shade too handsome, so laid back he's always in his soul, stretched out in the tall grass, one arm under his head, watching the clouds and laughing. Now he looks over some low stuff unworthy of him, and then, uncoiling, sends one out. Straight on a rising line, over the center field wall, no cheap Fenway shot, but all of it, the physics as elegant as the arc the ball describes. New England is on its feet, roaring. The summer will not pass. Roaring, they recall the evening late and cold in 1975, the 6th game of the World Series, perhaps the greatest baseball game played in the last 50 years, when Carbo, loose and easy, had uncoiled to tie the game that Fisk would win. It is now 8-7, 1 out, and school will never start, rain will never come, sun will warm the back of your neck forever. Now Bailey, picked up from the National League recently, big arms, heavy gut experience, new to the league and the club, fouls off 2, and then, checking, tentative, a big man off balance, he pops a soft liner to the first baseman. It is suddenly darker and later, and the announcer doing the game coast to coast, a New Yorker who works for a New York television station, sounds relieved. His little world, well lit, hot combed, split second timed, has no capacity to absorb this much gritty, grainy, contrary reality. Cox swings a bat, stretches his long arm, bends his back. The rookie from Pawtucket who broke in 2 weeks ago with a record 6 straight hits. The kid drafted ahead of Freddie Lynn, rangy, smooth, cool. The count runs 2-2, and Cox swings, and the ball beginning toward the mound, and then, in a jaunty, wayward dance, skips past Briles, feinting to the right, skimming the last of the grass, finding the dirt, moving now like some small, purposeful marine creature negotiating the green deep, easily avoiding the jagged rock of second base and traveling steady and straight now out into the dark, silent recesses of center field. Well, the aisles are jammed, the place is on its feet, the wrappers, the program, the Coke cups and peanut shells, the detritus of an afternoon, the anxieties, the things that have to be done tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday, the accumulation of a summer, all forgotten, while hope, the anchor, bites and takes hold, where a moment before it had seemed we would be swept out with the tide. Rice is up. Rice, who Aaron had said was the only one he'd seen with the ability to break his records. Rice, the best clutch hitter on the club with the best slugging percentage in the league. Rice, so quick and strong, he once checked his swing halfway through and snapped the bat in 2. Rice, the hammer of God, sent to scourge the Yankees. The sound was overwhelming. Fathers pounded their sons in the back. Cars pulled off the road. Households froze. New England exulted in its blessedness and roared its thanks for all good things for Rice and for a summer stretching halfway through October. Bryles threw. Rice swung, and it was over. One pitch, fly to center, and it stopped. Summer died in New England, and like rain sliding off a roof, the crowd slipped out of Fenway quickly, with only a steady murmur of concern for the drive ahead remaining of the roar. Dame Mutability had turned the seasons and translated hope to memory once again. And once again, she had used baseball, our best invention to stay change, to bring change on. That is why it breaks my heart, that game. Not because in New York they could win because Boston lost. In that, there's a rough justice and a reminder to the Yankees of how slight and fragile are the circumstances that exalt one group of human beings over another. It breaks my heart because it was meant to. Because it was meant to foster in me again the illusion that there was something abiding, some pattern and some impulse that could come together to make a reality that would resist the corrosion. And because after it had fostered again that most hungered for illusion, the game was meant to stop and betray precisely what it promised. Now, of course, there are those who learn after the first few times. They grow out of sports. And there are others who are born with the wisdom to know that nothing lasts. These are the truly tough among us, the ones who can live without illusion or without even the hope of illusion. But I am not that grown up or up to date. I am a simpler creature, tied to more primitive patterns and cycles. I need to think something lasts forever. And it might as well be that state of being that is a game. It might as well be that in a green field in the sun.
We are back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your Sports Break on 92.7 Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada. Broadcasted, through Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. Sorry, the weather outside is still negative 11, feels like negative 20, negative 18, with the wind chill. We're starting to get a little bit of snow now, from what I can see out the window here. We got a little bit of crack here. If you're with us before the break here, of course, we were talking about the NHL season. What's going on right now? Everything going on with Randy Carlyle getting fired from the Anaheim Ducks. Leafs, of course, last week signed Auston Matthews to a 5-year extension, $11.6 million AAV. Just got to fix my mic here real quick. There, I didn't want to deafen you with the noise. It's a loud mic move. And, of course, that playing right there before the break was Bart Giamatti's Greenfield of the Mind. It gets me, I don't want to say emotional because that's such cliche, but, I just love it. It makes me think of baseball, and during the winter, it's amazing because we don't get... Once baseball's done, it's done. And, of course, the Blue Jays the past 2 seasons haven't been in the playoffs. So you watch the playoffs, but you don't... It's not as fun because it's not the Blue Jays. It's still amazing baseball. Of course, last year's World Series was amazing. And to watch baseball is just an amazing honor to get to watch a sport like that. But, yeah, it does... I just love it. I don't know how else to say it. If you've been paying attention to the baseball world, of course, this offseason is extremely boring. Barely any free agents have signed, which is not good for the league. It kind of screws with the players a lot, and it's just not fair to the players who have worked hard for the money and the chance for a contract, and they just don't get it. And it wouldn't surprise me if the next time when the CBA comes up from the MLB, if they're going to strike. It really wouldn't surprise me if they do strike. I think they kind of deserve to strike, because this contract situation is not fair at all. Teams just don't want to sign players to contracts. They would rather go with rookies, and I just don't think it's fair. I don't know. I guess maybe if the rookies are better. Okay, if the rookies are better, sign the rookies. Play with them. Because you always go with the better player. But if you're doing it just so you don't have to pay the guy, come on. Like, come on, pay the guy. And there's teams, the Blue Jays are one of them. I can't be hypocritical here. That they're not trying to win. There's a lot of teams right now not trying to win because they're not great. You either have to be great or you're not even going to win. So they're just kind of laying in the weeds, waiting to get some good prospects, and then they're going to contend. Like the Houston Astros did, like the Chicago Cubs did. They've tanked, got some draft picks, got some amazing players, and then went and won a World Series. That's what a lot of teams are trying to do now. And the league's going to try to get rid of it, and I think they should. It doesn't make for good baseball when half the league is trash, but that's a while away still to get that fixed. Right now, we talked a bit before Christmas about the quarterback named Kyler Murray, the 2018 Heisman Trophy winner, who, well, I should really know what football team. Oklahoma, yeah. Yeah, sorry, he played for Oklahoma, played football there at the University of Oklahoma. He also was drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the first round, and they were waiting on a decision whether he was going to choose to play football in the NFL or choose to play baseball in the MLB, and we got our decision yesterday. Kyler Murray released a tweet saying he's going to play football. He's going to pursue an NFL career despite already signing a contract with the Oakland Athletics. He said, "Football has been my life, my love and passion my entire life. I was raised to play quarterback, and I very much look forward to dedicating 100% of myself to being the best quarterback possible and winning NFL championships. I have started an extensive training program to further prepare myself for the upcoming NFL workouts and interviews. I eagerly await the opportunity to continue to prove to NFL decision makers that I am the franchise quarterback in this draft." Of course, Oakland drafted Murray with the 9th overall pick back last June, and the club agreed to let him play football during his junior year at Oklahoma before required him to report to the A's. He did sign a contract. He got a $1.5 million signing bonus from the Athletics. He said he's going to return $1.29 million of it, so he's going to keep a little bit, but if he's already spent it, you can't really return it. The A's will put him on a restricted list and retain his rights, but they don't get a draft pick because of it, because he's going to the NFL. It's just, if you're an Oakland Athletic fan, you hate it because he looked to be a really good player. He's fast, he can hit, he can field. He was going to be really good. And he chose football. He's good at football, so good for him. The only thing I wonder is, he said it was for monetary reasons, how he can make more money as an NFL quarterback, which they can. They get paid more money by the position they are in the draft, the position they're drafted in the draft. And Kyler Murray in the MLB would have been, I think it's I'm trying to think of, like 3 or 4 years for making big money. By the time you get out of like the renewable stage into arbitration in the MLB, the contracts kind of don't set you up to get paid for a while. And he wouldn't have got paid for a while, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to get paid, and he wanted to get paid now. And so he goes to the NFL. He's probably going to be a good quarterback. The only thing is, in the MLB, there's not the injury concern. There's not the chance to be injured as much. You can still get very injured in the MLB, but there's not guys running at you trying to tackle you. That's, in my opinion, I think he made the wrong decision. Of course, whatever decision he made in his mind is the right decision to him, and that's all that matters. Because believe it or not, me here in Peterborough, Ontario, over Trent Radio, I'm not going to change his mind. I'm not the deciding factor. I just think he screwed up here. I think he squandered a really good opportunity to play for a team that would have loved him, fans that would have loved him. It's an amazing atmosphere down in Oakland. The fans really care about that baseball team. And I just think he would have been a really good, I believe he was, center fielder prospect. And he just would have been good. Of course, Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson were high-profile dual sports stars. They played baseball and football at the same time in the 90s. And it was amazing. Now, why doesn't he try it here? I don't think he can. I don't know what the rules are on that. I haven't looked into it. The time demands, of course, of being a quarterback are different. That's what it is. I don't know what I'm thinking of. To be a quarterback in the MLB, in the NFL, you have to know every play, offensive play, and you just have to, you dedicate a lot of time. Whereas to be a wide receiver or a running back, you know your routes. Well, you know your routes and what to do, and you can maybe focus on both. Of course, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders are different people. They're just like animals compared to the rest of, good animals in a good way. really good athletes, and they can do that. They have baseball IQ and the football IQ to play both and play both at a really good level. Maybe Kyler Murray had that. We won't know. I just hope someday he doesn't look back and think, I made the wrong decision. If he lives his whole life, plays football his whole life, and loves it, and never says to himself, I think I made the wrong decision, all the power to him. All the power to him now. That's a really tough choice between two sports that you've lived your whole life playing that you're really good at. I can only imagine what it'd be like to be good at two sports, let alone one, to be that good. But for the Oakland Athletics, it's a huge blow to their franchise. They picked this guy. Of course, they knew there was going to be some concerns about whether he was going to want to play baseball for them or not play baseball at all, or whether he was going to want to play football. They gambled on it, and they lost, unfortunately. But they're still, what they're doing kind of doesn't sit. Like they're going to keep trying to go after him. They're going to wait till he gets drafted by an NFL team. The NFL team offers him a contract, and then they're going to try to pay him more than him. They're going to try to give him more guaranteed money in a major league contract if necessary. So, of course, that cuts out the idea that he's a prospect and works his way up to getting paid a lot of money. The Athletics are just going to pay him a lot of money. Is that a smart move for the Athletics? Not at all. Because what if he doesn't pan out? Now, I did just pump his tires for 10 minutes saying he's a really good athlete. But we don't know yet. He hasn't faced MLB bats. Same with Vlad Guerrero Jr. We will talk about the Blue Jays in a second here, but people forget he hasn't faced MLB at bats yet. I love the guy. I can't wait. I will pump his tires all day. But he hasn't faced MLB pitching yet. We don't know what he's going to be like at the MLB level. He has performed amazingly in AA, AAA, everywhere. So there's no doubt. In Winter League, he played against MLB players in Winter League and was amazing. But we don't know until he's here. And it's just part of the excitement of this guy could be as good as I think he is. He could be way better. This could be the second coming of Christ almost in baseball. Or he could not be. You don't know. And for the Oakland Athletics to go to say to Murray, we will offer you a bigger deal than you'll get in the NFL. They're really putting all chips in. Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics. I don't know if Billy Beane runs that part. They're really moneyballing this one. And it would be I don't know if it'll work. It's going to be quite a story if he goes, yeah, you know what? You offered me a lot of money. I'll come play baseball. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't, it's a crappy situation for both sides. I'm sure Kyler Murray didn't want to, let down a franchise in the Oakland Athletics and be like, you know what? I'm going to go play football. Thanks for drafting me. Thanks for the money, but I'm playing football. And he didn't mention the Oakland Athletics or baseball in his thing. He just said, I want to play football. I grew up to be a football player. I can make more money as a football player right away. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. And if he gets swayed just by the money, I don't know if I'm the Athletics. If his decision's just purely money-based, I don't know if I want that player. Because if he's just doing it for the money, if he has a bad couple seasons in the MLB, his contract's up, what's stopping him from going to play football? That's all I'm going to say. We're done with that. If more comes up on the story, we'll talk about it. But right now, I don't think he made the right decision. And I'm going to stick with that. But it's his decision. And good luck to him. We can wish him all the luck here. From Trent Radio to Kyler Murray. I'm sure he really needs our luck, but you never know. Now, the MLB is trying to propose some rule changes. Of course, universal designated hitter has been around for a while. The idea has been around for a while. I don't think it's a terrible idea. It stops pitchers from getting hurt. Of course, Masahiro Tanaka pulled both hamstrings last year while batting in a National League game. And they just don't bat well. No pitchers are really good. There's a couple good hitters, but they're not all good. And it's a waste of an at-bat. I think if you really want a good game, I don't care how good the game was. If you want a good game, you bring in the double DH. People say, well, it's not the history of baseball. A lot of things are the history of baseball. PEDs are the history of baseball. Do we want to bring that back? People want to ignore it. It happened. And it's as simple as that. There's a lot of things in the history of baseball that we don't want anymore. One of the things we should want is the DH. It just makes the game better, in my opinion. They want to change the draft. Right now, if you're the last team in the league, you get to pick first overall, no matter what, next season. They're going to try to do what the NHL, or they're talking about doing what the NHL does in putting a lottery draft which I think is a great idea because it just gets rid of tanking, or doesn't get rid of tanking, but it like lessens the idea. Of course, they'll have a situation like with the Buffalo Sabres, who tanked for Connor McDavid and lost and got Jack Eichel. They didn't lose, but they lost out on McDavid, is a better way of saying it. Bigger rosters from 25 to 26 players. Of course, if you add the extra DH, you're going to have to change that. The big one that's got a lot of people, and I don't understand it, is the 3 batter minimum for relief pitchers. Right now, if you have a left-handed pitcher, they're most of them are like left-handed specialists. Like for the Blue Jays, Aaron Loup was a left-hand specialist. They'll face the one tough lefty, a guy like, a guy like Big Papi. You always brought in a left. You tried to bring in a lefty specialist. Anthony Rizzo. Well, there's a lot of good lefty bats. I just can't think of any right now. Christian Yelich. Anyways, their new idea is to make it that every relief pitcher has to face at least 3 batters minimum, which I think doesn't need it. They're just trying to it saves time by bringing in less relief pitchers. You get a lefty, he strikes out another lefty, and then you bring in a righty. And then you have to wait for them both to warm up and get ready. I think it's fine. I know the commission, it's a huge thing in baseball right now to make the games quicker, so people pay attention more. I don't think that's what people I don't think that's the driving force. Or maybe I'm just too in depth in baseball. Where to me, if it's a 5-hour game, it's a 5-hour game. That's amazing. It's a really good game then. Or if it's a 2-hour game, well, it's an amazing pitcher's duel, and I love that. I don't think I'm in the right opinion there to say the time. Of course, that's 20-second pitch clock. It's all stuff that's above me. It doesn't bother me how long the games take. For a lot of people, it does, and that's one of the that's what MLB is just trying to input. Of course, these rules won't be put in for a couple of years, if they ever are. I should clarify that these rules aren't coming in; they're just talked about. The only one I could see for sure is the universal DH, and then with that, the 26-man roster instead of 25. Would just be the difference there. Now, last week, I believe 5 days ago, would be Thursday, the Marlins traded JT Realmuto, finally kind of finishing their rebuild. And by that, I mean shopping all of their key players. Other than Starlin Castro, they traded JT Realmuto to the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for catcher. These are all prospects. Jorge Alfaro, Sixto Sanchez, and Will Stewart, and some international bonus pool money. Realmuto is considered one of the best catchers in the game. I'd say a top 3-5 catcher right now. Their lineup is amazing right now. The Phillies, Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, Realmuto, Maurice Hoskins, Odubel Herrera, Cesar Hernandez. Their pitching staff is the only thing that might hold them back, but they're going to be a really good team. And I would say they could contend this year. And Bryce Harper is still a free agent. Wouldn't hurt them to pick up Bryce Harper, in my opinion. They're a team that could not really use him, but that extra bat in there, ooh, that'd be a really good team. And Bryce is already used to the NL, so it wouldn't make a huge deal transition. I know, for position players, it's not as big as a transition as for pitchers, but it's still big enough transition that he won't have to make. The Cleveland Indians are a team. Of course, they tried to trade Corey Kluber this offseason. They're going to miss shortstop Francisco Lindor for 7 to 9 weeks. If you saw that, the calf strain. He's only 25 years old. He was preparing for spring training, and it's considered a moderate strain by the team. Of course, the season starts in just under 7 weeks. Excuse me. So he won't miss a lot of time, but for the Indians, you kind of want Lindor. He's one of the best shortstops in the league. It's kind of a tough break for them. Now, the topic we've all been waiting for. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And if you follow him on Instagram, you should, because it's Vlad. Why not? He's going to be a Blue Jay for at least 6 years. Excuse me, sorry, just having a stretch. Oh, that was my elbow. We're just winding down here on sports. That actually really hurt. Sorry. Crap. When is Vlad going to get called up is a huge thing I've seen now. And for anyone that knows baseball, there's service time, which is the thing that after 6 years of full service time, you hit free agency. And in baseball service time, it's counted in days. And an MLB season lasts anywhere from 182 to 187 days. But any player who collects 172 days or more gets credit for a full year. So teams have figured out that any player who collects 171 days or fewer doesn't get credit for a full year. So there's a lot of players that have had this happen to them. Chris Bryant, Evan Longoria, David Price, Bryce Harper, Ronald Acuna Jr. just missed the 172-day threshold. Not because they needed time to develop, that's what the team said, but it was more so they could have an extra year of control. And before you ask, yes, this is what the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do for Vlad Guerrero Jr. It sucks. It's crappy to the player. It's crappy to the fans. I love the idea because you got to do it. You want that extra year, especially if you're not going to contend in the next 5 years. But that sixth year, you should contend in the next 5 years. Let me rephrase that. The Blue Jays better be contending in the next 5 years. But you get that extra day. Excuse me. So he has to spend at least 15 days in the minors to get that 171 days. So the regular season includes the 4 days in March, adding 11 days in April, so he'll miss 15 days. That means the soonest he can get called up is Friday, April 12th, a home game against the Rays. Now, sorry, it's hard for me to understand this too and try to relate it. Do I think he's going to get called up April 12th? No. I don't think they're going to call him up while they're at home. I think, although that would be amazing for Blue Jays fans, you get to see his first MLB at-bat in Rogers Center. I think he'll get called up on the road. I believe they play the Minnesota Twins on the road after that series and against Tampa Bay and Toronto. I think he gets called up then. And then he's up to stay for the rest of his career. Bo Bichette, I don't know when he gets called up. Gavin Biggio, all of these guys, Forrest Wall, all these prospects. I don't know when they're going to come up. The Blue Jays opening day roster is probably going to look closely similar to last year's. Danny Jansen, of course, is going to be the opening day starter behind the plate with Luke Maile behind him, probably Justin Smoak, Kendrys Morales, first base DH, Devin Travis, probably second base. Brandon Drury will play third until Vlad gets called up. Shortstop, it's kind of strange. There's Lourdes Gurriel Jr., but there's also Freddie Galvis, who's a really good shortstop that they got from the Padres this offseason. It'll probably be Freddie Galvis because he's played shortstop. And Gurriel has, and he's amazing. Well, he's not amazing. He's a really good hitter. He's just not fielding well yet. And they want him more as a super utility guy. The outfield, of course, Kevin Pillar, Randall Grichuk, Teoscar Hernandez, and Billy McKinney. Teoscar needs better defense, is the only thing holding him back right now. Of course, Pillar is known for his defense. His bat is kind of falling off. And Grichuk's a really good player right now for the Blue Jays. And then Gurriel, of course, utility. The rotation will be Stroman, Sanchez, Ryan Baraki. We know these guys. Matt Shoemaker acquired this offseason with Clayton Richard. And then there's guys like Sean Reed-Foley, Thomas Pannone, Sam Gaviglio. All these guys waiting in the minors. Probably going to pitch in AAA. The bullpen is a mess. The Blue Jays just don't have a great bullpen right now. And they still have lots of time to add free agents. Guys like John Axford, stuff like Tyler Clippard. They get added late in the postseason, late in the offseason now. They still have Ken Giles, Ryan DePera, and then from there, who knows? Nobody knows what's going to happen there. Just get ready for the MLB season. It'll be huge. Is this the best season that the Blue Jays are ever going to have? No. But we get to witness the best prospect they've ever had in Vlad Guerrero. And I'll be honest, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what he's going to be like. If he's good, if not, it's just going to be amazing. But that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 CFFF through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. If you've missed previous shows, you can catch up on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. We, of course, next week, actually, I am on Radio Week, so it won't be a live show. It'll be a retaped show. Just wait 2 weeks, baby. It's worth the wait. We will talk about the NHL season, gearing up for the NHL trade deadline, or it'll be the NHL trade deadline and the upcoming MLB offseason. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, remember to check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. I don't just say it for the fun of it. It's a really serious thing that you should do. I hope you have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen, and get ready for baseball.